ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Olivia Cameron, and I am the chairman, and Jake Reedman is the timekeeper. The adjudicator is Mr. Tony Huey. The topic of this debate is that driverless cars are a really bad idea. The affirmative team seated to my right is from Pulteney Grammar School. The negative team, seated to my left, is from Aberfoyle Park High School. The speaking time for this debate is 5 minutes. A single warning bell will sound 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time. A continuous bell may be rung 30 seconds after the speaking time, in which case the speaker must sit down immediately. Please ensure that your mobile phones and other electronic devices are switched off. I declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Tom Clark.
Will driverless cars ruin the driving experience, or could they liberate us from it? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Chairman, my team, the affirmative, will convince you that driverless cars are a really bad idea. We have chosen to take our definition from the American Department of Road Transport, who define a driverless car, also known as an autonomous vehicle or self-driving car, as a robot-like car that moves a vehicle between destinations without a human operator. To qualify as fully autonomous, a vehicle must be able to navigate without human intervention to a predetermined location using a GPS sensors, laser detection, high-powered cameras, and algorithm software, all of which detect the car's surroundings to safely navigate across the road. We define really bad to be a pun for really bad, meaning not ideal in manner or degree, and that it is not an ideal solution. We describe idea as a thought or suggestion to as a possible course of action. So, therefore, we take the topic to mean that fully autonomous vehicles are not an ideal solution for our future. Tonight, as first speaker, I will point out that many jobs will be lost with the introduction of self-driving cars and how this will negatively impact the unemployment and economy. I will also convince you that self-driving cars and the safety of passengers are greatly threatened by technology. Our second speaker will outline how the sensors that self-driving cars rely on are undependable and full of flaws, and that self-driving cars may pose ethical and legal dilemmas in regards to emergency situations and privacy. Lucy, our third speaker, will summarise our team's case and show that the opposition's case really is not the real deal. My first point tonight is that the huge cost and rise in unemployment as a result of driverless cars will have a significant negative impact on the society and the economy. The cost for a driverless car is currently estimated to exceed $100,000. According to my budget planners, you should never buy vehicles if they are worth more than 50% of your annual income. This would mean you should be earning over $200,000 a year if you are planning on being able to buy a driverless car. Also, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, less than 2% of Australians actually earn this amount of money. This means that if we introduce them, only that amount will be able to sustainably afford a driverless car. Furthermore, introducing driverless cars will also cause unemployment rates to rise, as many people employed in driving-related occupations will lose their jobs, such as taxi drivers, courier drivers, delivery people, driver educators, just to list a few. This would also leave a massive portion of people once working in this industry unemployed. So add all these people on top of an already dreadful unemployment rate of 7.7% for Adelaide, stated by the Department of Employment, and we have a serious problem on our hands. Now, for my second point, if technology fails, which we know it can, then autonomous vehicles can create catastrophic driving conditions on our roads. Hackers are one such concern when it comes to technology issues. Anything electrical can be hacked. Your computer can be hacked. Your phone can be hacked. Why would self-driving cars be any different? Look at Apple. They laid claims to being unhackable. You just last month saw that they had to issue an urgent software update to all of their devices because hackers were able to take full control over people's phone, giving them access to secure information. This company began in 1976 and still haven't managed fail-safe technology. This week, security and monitoring experts warned drivers of the Jeep Cherokee to install a software update after hackers used a flaw in the Informat system to force it off the road, grinding it to a halt in the middle of a very busy freeway. Experts from the Wired said the hackers were able to take control of the vehicle while it was driving. The potential for hackers to disrupt traffic would increase dramatically if there were more computerized cars on the road. This could potentially endanger all our lives. On top of this, these cars track our every move. Hackers would know when people left their home, where they are going, and then that would leave us completely vulnerable. This would be disastrous, especially in an era where we are threatened by terror attacks and we have such knowledgeable IT experts. Could you trust a computer to hold your life in its hands? Now, tonight I have shown you two main points. These are the negative effect on the economy and in turn, the loss of jobs. I also proved that hackers and personal security is a huge risk. So we think you auto know driverless cars are completely inadequate. Thank you.
I call upon the first negative speaker, Brian Steele.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of tonight's debate is that driverless cars are a really bad idea. We mostly agree with the opposing team's definition. However, we would like to add by saying that driverless cars are able to switch to being able to be driven by a human being. We define a really bad idea as a really unhelpful concept that could potentially bring harm to our society, culture, future safety, and overall well-being. We, the negative team from Aberfoyle Park High School, strongly believe that driverless cars are in fact a really good idea. I would like to begin by rebutting the first affirmative speaker's points. He stated that driverless cars will destroy jobs and raise the unemployment rate. However, driverless cars will create many other jobs in other areas that the second speaker, Molly, will hopefully elaborate on. He also stated that there would be many problems with driverless cars being hacked and that any device may be hacked. However, Google has been headlining the development of driverless cars and their technology. And Google has yet to be hacked, so they would presumably put their as yet unhacked firewalls on the cars, making them safe as for now. Today, I will be talking about the already successful use of self-driving technology in aeroplanes, the possible uses of self-driving buses and trams, and how such a versatile vehicle could be a boon for families. Our second speaker, Molly, will be talking about how they would minimise issues of human error in car accidents and the potential efficiency benefits of driverless vehicles. Our third speaker, Kevlin, will be rebutting the affirmative team's points and summing up our team case. I would like to... On to my first point. The technology used for driverless cars is already used in other situations, namely aeroplanes. The autopilot the pilots use to take a break is the same kind of concept as driverless cars. The pilot manually takes off the hardest part and programs the route into the autopilot for the computer to carry out as much as the pilot needs. This shows that autopilot is already a working concept used in aeroplanes. Putting similar technology into cars would only further benefit our society by enabling these driverless cars to run on a similar system. Driver fatigue on long-haul trips could be managed without the need for frequent stops, and destinations could be achieved more efficiently. Citizens already trust planes to get them safely to their destination, so why wouldn't we trust the same highly sophisticated technology in cars? If we don't pursue the idea of driverless cars, the technology will not develop and an exciting opportunity would surely be missed. For my second point, driverless buses would be a great evolution of the concept. Self-driving vehicles don't have to end at cars. Buses would be perfect candidates to drive themselves. They already follow set routes every day, and with self-driving technology driving the bus, it could make it much easier for citizens and the drivers. A counter-argument for this could be that the bus drivers would lose their jobs. However, the bus drivers would still be able to take control of the bus if needed, as I stated in my rebutting of the other team's definitions. And they would also be there to check on tickets and monitor safety and good behaviour of and for the passengers. This ability to free up supervision would be of particular benefit on late night runs, such as New Year's Eve celebrations or after hotels and bars close. My third and final point relates to the benefits for parents. Most of you would understand the struggle of being taxis for your children. Having to transport your children to and from sports games on the weekend, dancing, possibly even debating. Driverless cars could completely change that. With a car that could drive itself, the poor overworked parents could take some well-deserved rest from transporting their children everywhere. After quickly programming the routes there and back, the parents could let their children hop in, and since the car could drive itself, the parents would know that the children would be safe. Driverless cars would not only be good for our society as a whole, it would also help individual families cope better with the stresses of everyday life. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, those were my 3 points. As I have stated, self-driving technology is already used in other ways, public transport would benefit from it, and families could find a lot of usefulness in it. I would like to finish by clarifying that we, the Aberfoyle Park High School team, strongly believe that the idea of driverless cars can only be of benefit to our society as a whole. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Zach Nichols.
Will autonomous cars assist driving or create unnecessary hassle, many accidents, and put our location at risk? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chairman, we, the affirmative team, will thoroughly convince you that driverless cars are indeed a really bad idea. Before I begin, I would like to point out some of the flaws in the opposition's arguments. The opposition stated that with this technology, we could possibly develop self-driving cars and self-driving buses. We would like to point out to the opposition that the debate tonight is about self-driving buses and self-driving trams. We'd like to point out to the opposition that the debate tonight is about self-driving cars, so both of these are irrelevant. The opposition has also stated that aeroplanes already have self-driving features. While this may be true, this is a very bad comparison, as there are many issues with autopilot. Imagine all the plane issues you've heard about, but with self-driving cars, there would be thousands more. Also, planes don't have narrow roads, and there is much larger room for error. Our first speaker has already explained how a large number of jobs will be lost with the introduction of self-driving cars, and also about how many people won't be able to afford self-driving cars. His second point was about how the safety of passengers will be threatened by technology. I will be explaining how the sensors used by self-driving cars rely on their surroundings and are unreliable in poor weather conditions. And I will be exploring the ethics regarding driverless cars and how they will always be an ongoing moral dilemma. My first point is that it is important to know that the sensors used by self-driving cars rely on their surroundings for information and are unable to work very reliably in poor weather conditions and when it comes to common traffic situations. Currently, the majority of testing for self-driving cars has occurred in clear, sunny conditions where weather has not been a problem. Google has been testing their self-driving cars in California, and there is a clear reason for this, as during the summer, California generally only gets 1 to 2 days of rain. However, most cities are located in areas prone to rain, dust, smoke, or even snow. Also, according to Sam Aberfoyle, a senior analyst for the Navigant Research who has test driven a self-driving car in snowy conditions, the sensors on self-driving cars have difficulty identifying objects through heavy rain and snow and can overreact and misrepresent snow and rain for objects. If they sense that a pile of snow is a large dangerous object, it could be very dangerous if the car swerves, and it could also be very time-consuming if you had to stop during inclement weather. Additionally, according to Google, in one of their monthly reports, they stated that their self-driving cars will pull over and wait until conditions improve if it is particularly rainy. Cars are designed to increase productivity and not stop because of light rain and snow. If self-driving cars can't handle winter weather, they are a terrible idea, and that's the cold, hard truth. Also, self-driving cars' sensors are inferior to humans when it comes to giving hand signals and eye contact. It will not work in an instant when giving way to other vehicles. Humans use eye contact and hand gestures to communicate who will yield. Self-driving cars cannot detect or understand these gestures. For this reason, when self-driving cars are introduced, they will cause massive confusion and possibly accidents, as human-driven cars will still be on the road and will not know how to communicate with a robot, and the robot will not be able to comply with our social norms. Regardless of how advanced self-driving cars are, currently their sensors are still not there yet when it comes to identifying weather conditions or communicating with humans. Because of this reason, putting self-driving cars with their current sensors on the road is an appalling idea. My second point is that the ethics regarding driverless cars is and always will be an ongoing moral dilemma. The fact that the algorithm is incapable of split-second decisions makes them actually far more dangerous to the occupants. According to Tesla, their CEO, Mr. Musk, stated earlier this year at the GPU Technology Conference that it is not yet reliable enough to travel in a complex urban environment such as where children are playing. Let's take the example of when a child runs out onto the road to collect a bulb. In normal situations, the car would have to swerve or knock the kid down. This is a split-second decision that drivers get to make. However, when there is a driverless car, this is not in your hands. In fact, there are many split-second decisions, complicated decisions, that drivers make on a daily basis. There is no possible way we could safely program them for them all. These decisions are often very complicated and take into account a number of factors. Would a simple 360-degree camera, a few sensors, and some programming really be able to make these complicated, life-threatening decisions? And it would be hard to ascertain who would be technically responsible should there be an accident resulting in death or severe injury. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, autonomous cars are obviously an appalling idea and something that should not be introduced onto our roads. We definitely believe that sharing the road with driverless cars would drive you crazy.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Molly Eve Day.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate tonight is that driverless cars are a really bad idea. We, the negative team from Aberfoyle Park High School, strongly believe this statement is false. I would like to start by pointing out some flaws in the opposition's team case. The second speaker of the negative team tried to tell you that most tests were done in California and therefore the cars are not adapted to the weather. However, extensive testing has been done in the United Kingdom, and this is a country where a lot of the ideas for the driverless cars were invented. The UK, as many people are aware, is an incredibly rainy country. They also said that driverless cars will decrease productivity. However, as I will explain later, it will increase it in countless ways. Our first speaker has already talked to you about autopilot in planes and how this has been efficient and effective for decades with few accidents, how driverless cars can develop and what this can do for society and family life. Today's second speaker, I will be talking to you about human error and how this can be reduced by driverless cars, as well as the huge efficiency benefits that driverless cars can bring. My first point is that the use of driverless cars can reduce and potentially eliminate the problem of human error. According to alertdriving.com, human error accounts for 90% of all road accidents. 1.3 million road deaths occur worldwide every year, and more than 50 million people are seriously injured. Driverless cars could be a huge step forward in reducing this terrifyingly large road toll. Human error due to drink driving, distraction and fatigue. For example, a teenager who's taken the family car to a party and had a bit too much to drink. They can now get home safely without having to rely on parents or their equally as drunk friends. By stopping the risk of drink driving, driverless cars can potentially lower road deaths by 24%. Another example would be distraction while driving. People who get distracted easily by their phones, or who have an overly demanding job that requires them to be contactable 24/7, or a sick relative they feel they need to check up on. These are the kind of people who may feel the need to use a phone while driving. However, the use of driverless cars will allow these people to tend to their business on their phones without risking the lives of themselves and everyone around them. In 2011, at least 23% of road accidents involve cell phones. So again, driverless cars reducing or potentially eliminating this risk will drastically decrease the number of road deaths. Driverless cars could also reduce the risk of human error with its ability to minimize driver fatigue. Take, for instance, a truck driver who has to undergo a painfully long journey to deliver supplies. They have to meet a strict deadline, which leads them to driving while completely exhausted. This is not only bad for the driver, but can also cause bad accidents to happen. With driverless technology being able to take over, the driver has time to rest properly while still making good time. And this isn't the only situation where this would be helpful. What about busy parents who feel they're constantly taxiing their children around, or on long road trips across states? Pursuing the idea and developing the technology for driverless cars could be used in countless situations to reduce human error and therefore serious injury or death due to road distractions that we can now prevent thanks to this new technology. My second point is the efficiency benefits driverless cars can have. As stated in a report done by The Telegraph, driverless vehicles will offer the promise of better use of road space, reducing congestion and providing more consistent journey times through the use of connected vehicles technologies. Connected vehicles was developed as a part of driverless cars, which allows them to communicate with other cars around them and surrounding roadside infrastructure like traffic lights. The driverless cars then use this information to minimize fuel consumption and emissions, lowering fuel costs and the environmental impacts that cars can have. They also identify an optimum route, which will help reduce congestion dramatically. All of this not only proves how smart and far developed this amazing idea and technology is, but also shows how driverless cars could save time, money, and the environment. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, we, the negative team from Aberfoyle Park High School, strongly believe that driverless cars are not a really bad idea. Every new idea seems crazy at first, but ideas put into action lead to innovation, which is what our society needs more of. If we shut down all ideas due to any small risk, our society would never grow or develop and would therefore never thrive.
I call upon the third affirmative speaker, Lucy Johnson.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, my team has successfully convinced you that driverless cars are a really bad idea. So let's just stop right now and put the brakes on this one. As third speaker, I will firstly be pointing out the flaws in the opposition's arguments, then summing up my own team's case, and finally thoroughly persuading you that my team is correct. The first member of the opposition has indicated that we already use driverless functions in aeroplanes, such as a type of cruise control. However, according to our definition, a driverless vehicle must be able to complete all functions required to move from one destination to another, and just using cruise control does not make a plane driverless. First speaker also stated that cars use cruise control. However, it is easier in the sky to complete a driverless function. How many road rules do you know that also occur up in the sky? The first member also stated that with driverless cars come fewer accidents. We have identified that Tesla cars in autopilot mode still have the potential for accidents, as evidenced by the fatality in May this year. It appears that the driverless vehicle may have confused the side of a white truck with the bright sky, something that a human would clearly have been able to distinguish between. Therefore, whilst there might be less accidents due to human error, there is no way to extrapolate how many deaths may be caused by computer error. The second member of the negative team has stated that driverless cars will allow commuters to be more productive as they travel. However, Tesla, one of the major developers of driverless car technology, stated in response to the death of Joshua Brown, a test driver for Tesla, that the driver may not have been holding the steering wheel. It actually raises the broader question, can car manufacturers expect drivers to remain alert when they're not actually driving? As you can see, even a major developer of the technology is suggesting that the driver will maintain effective control of the vehicle, even in driverless mode. With that in mind, where is this alleged increase in productivity supposed to be coming from? The second member of the opposing team has also stated that driverless cars would reduce the rate of car accidents that occur as a result of drink driving. We disagree with that statement because it has been identified that some of the technology involved cannot cope with certain conditions, which is why in California a law has been passed requiring that there be a driver behind the wheel who can take over in the case of an emergency. If this person was intoxicated, how would being in a driverless car be any safer for them or any other road users? Driverless cars? A really bad idea. The second member of the opposition has falsely stated that fully autonomous cars would reduce the rate of car accidents that occur due to human error. We disagree with this statement because you can never completely eliminate the risk of accidents. Even a programmer cannot consider all the possibilities when developing complex algorithms. It's not just about responding to other cars on the road, but to pedestrians, stray dogs, or even distracted Pokemon Go users. Our first speaker, Tom, spoke about the cost and unemployment rates regarding the integration of driverless cars into our society. Once driverless cars are introduced into the market, there would be a whopping $100,000 each. $100,000! At least 98% of the people wouldn't even be able to afford them. That's only 2% of our population that could actually even pay for them. The driverless cars would also increase unemployment rates, so many people would lose their jobs just from the creation of driverless cars. He also spoke about the possibilities for hackers and how in our increasingly connected society, the risk of them is much more prominent. One of the biggest issues with something so technological is that it can certainly be hacked. So what if someone was late for work and they were cruising along in their fancy new driverless car, and all of a sudden they've been hacked? They don't know where they're going or how to control it. At least in a normal car, you definitely don't have that problem. Our second speaker, Zach, spoke about how the driverless cars find it extremely difficult to work in inclement weather or harsh weather conditions. Currently, the testing for driverless cars has only been on clear, sunny days, meaning that they are yet to correct the weather technology for driverless cars. And as most cities are located in areas prone to severe weather conditions, this is definitely a problem. Also, driverless cars can't compare with humans when it comes to registering hand signals or eye contact. So in a situation of a power failure and a police officer standing in the middle of the road to direct traffic, we would definitely have a problem. He also spoke about the ethics and moral dilemma surrounding the driverless car, how a driverless car would never be able to make a rational decision of whether or not to take a life. Ladies and gentlemen, my team has continuously convinced you over the course of this debate that driverless cars are a really bad idea. So let me leave you with these immortal words of Roadhouse Blues by The Doors. Keep your eyes on the road and your hands upon the wheel. Thank you.
On the third negative speaker, Pembroke.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for debate tonight is that driverless cars are a really bad idea. We, the negative team of Aberfoyle Park High School, strongly believe without a doubt that this statement is false. The first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that driverless cars or other vehicles will cause jobs such as taxi drivers to cease. This will not do this, since many other job opportunities will open up. Once a job is removed due to an invention, another job opportunity will open up. Many other jobs in other aspects will be created, as our first speaker Ryan has already explained. For example, on buses. The bus driver will still be needed due to the fact that the bus is running on autopilot, and a manual driver will be needed. The bus driver could also be needed in other aspects, such as handing out tickets or looking after the safety of passengers. Nevertheless, the job is still there. The first affirmative speaker has also tried to explain to you that there is a possibility of the cars getting hacked, this leading to a potential danger. We agree with this point, and as sad as reality is, technology systems get hacked everywhere, all around the world. However, we can put in as many prevention methods as possible. As a reminder, we're suggesting that driverless cars are only an idea at this point in time, and the fact that hybrid systems have been implanted in prototypes is a promising start. If by any chance your vehicle got hacked and there is an override system in place that allows you as an adult to take back control of your car, this would stop incidents like this. The first affirmative speaker has also tried to explain to you that technology can falter. Yes, we agree with the fact that technology can falter. However, are you saying it should be perfect? We believe that nothing is perfect, and if mistakes in this technology are uncovered, there is always room for improvement to improve our systems. But the fact of an invention with a flaw is inevitable, ladies and gentlemen. The second affirmative speaker has also tried to explain to you, why would you trust a robot with your life? Well, why would we want to trust robots with our lives? Because we already do. Technologies such as driverless cars are used in many aspects in daily life, and we do not even notice it because it is so trustworthy. For example, aeroplanes. There have been recent articles and web pages explaining how autopilot on the plane does most of the work, while the pilot is there only for backup. All this happens while we do not even know it, and passengers are sitting in the plane enjoying their flight, not knowing that a robot is controlling their flight. Even then, citizens trust these planes, so what reason is there for similar systems to not be enabled in a car? Ignorance is not always bliss. The second and third affirmative speaker had tried to explain to you that autopilot works differently in the sky because there are only a few planes there, lessening the chance of risk, and different to a busy road where there are cars surrounding you. The route of these two vehicles cannot be compared. Car drivers do not have to worry about storms or obstacles in the way. Each of them have their own difficulties. Not one is easier than the other. The second affirmative speaker has also tried to tell you that cars cannot handle hard weather. Can handle. We would like to reinforce the idea that there is an override system in the cars, allowing the driver to drive through the hard weather. The second opposition has also said our topic of driverless buses was irrelevant. However, we were only suggesting the idea of expanding the technology into other vehicles, from self-driving cars, and how it would only benefit society. The second and third affirmative speaker also tried to explain to you that these cars would seize productiveness. We disagree with this statement. The opposition may call it laziness, however we call it productiveness. The fact that these cars save time, help you become more efficient, more alert, more productive, give you less stress, and of course less road rage. On average, a person spends 2 to 3 hours in congestion. Cutting down on this would save more time. How is this laziness? The third opposition has also tried to tell you that deaths due to human error wouldn't decrease. We didn't say it would eliminate 100% of these deaths. However, you cannot say it would dramatically decrease it. Now onto my team summary. Today, our first speaker, Ryan, has talked to you about the use of self-driving technology, such as autopilot in aeroplanes and other vehicles. If this technology has been used and verified for years already, and citizens and passengers are willing to trust this technology, why shouldn't we put our faith in cars? He then went on to further elaborate on the idea that this technology could be installed into buses, and how this would only further benefit our society. He also then went on to explain all the possible benefits these driverless cars would provide for families everywhere. This would mean endless possibilities, with parents being still able to work or other things being accomplished in the family, since valuable time has been saved. Our second speaker, Molly, then went on to elaborate how these driverless cars would lessen the chance of human error. These cars would reduce accidents, preventing drink driving, text driving, driver fatigue, etc. Her second point was about the efficiency benefits, which would reduce congestion and road rage. And ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, thank you.
Please wait while the adjudicator finalizes the result. I now invite the adjudicator, Mr. Tony Huey, to forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, thank you for supporting our debaters tonight. Some announcements before I go on to some detailed comments. A friendly reminder that you're invited, all of you, to attend the grand finals, which will be held in the House of Assembly Chamber at Parliament House on Saturday the 24th of September. No need to RSVP, just turn up. It's a really, really great day, and you'll see some excellent debating of the quality that we've seen tonight. So do spread the word and come along during the day. Details of the program will be on our website. Secondly, Debating SA celebrates its 25th anniversary this year, and we're going to celebrate with the Great Debate on Saturday 22nd October, which promises to be a fun evening of entertainment and a very interesting and topical debate with some student debaters against some celebrities. Again, details on our website. You can purchase tickets online or at the information desk tonight. Details of the semi-finals, which follow next week, will appear very shortly after tonight's round, so keep an eye out on the website in the morning. And the semi-finals will be again here next Tuesday night for year 8 and 9. Okay. In finals debates, the quality of the debate by definition ought to be excellent, and it ought to be really tough. And that's why they put 4 people like me into a situation where I've got to really, really struggle. If I were to put it purely on performance, both teams are excellent, equally excellent. But there has to be a winner, unfortunately. So I want to preface my comments by saying it was an outstanding quality debate all round. And I want to congratulate you all. Excuse me, I've got a dry throat. Now, my name is Tony Huey. I'm the chair of the Debating Association Board. I've also been a long-standing adjudicator, and I really enjoy finals because they really show the quality and the standard and progress and the development that has occurred during the season. And these two teams ought to feel absolutely good. Don't let it get to your head, but you should walk out of here feeling really proud of what you've done tonight. It was extremely close, and that's what it ought to be. If one team had been a walkover over the other, then there's been a problem in the way our competition's been run. But both these teams have clearly demonstrated an excellent approach to debating. So, it came with some interesting observations about the debate. The affirmative, I think, took a very pessimistic and cautious approach to this, both in your definition and the arguments. And so you said, well, you know, the problems outweigh the potential benefits. Let's be cautious because we're talking about human lives. It was a very powerful argument. On the other hand, the negative took a very broad and flexible and very optimistic and ambitious approach and said, change has to occur, it's got to be for the better, let's weigh it up and the benefits outweigh the costs. And we can deal with it. And these are natural extensions of good technology. And what are we trying to do? Would you rather we hold back technology? So I commend the negative for taking that ambitious approach too. It was really good to see you do that. A couple of other general things. I suggested the topic, so I'm to blame for that.
Thanks for the comment.
I was going to say there's only room for one comedian in here. I obviously unleashed a litany of puns. We ought to know, and let's put the brakes on things. And I've learnt my lesson. I thought, yeah, it's a topical issue. It's a really interesting and topical issue. And it will be challenging in years to come. And I thought the plane analogy was really interesting. Is it an extension of autopilot? The affirmative did pick up on the... flying a plane may be bigger and more technical, but they're not as congested as highways and freeways, which is interesting. I'm thinking I'm going home tonight on the South Eastern Freeway. Would I want to sit back and just listen to Peter Gordon and let it take over? Probably not. But it was really... I commend the research that both teams have put into the arguments. They're sophisticated and they were very, very well researched, so that's good. And it comes down to, do we trust the technology? Are we prepared to put our lives in the hands of a microchip or a robot or whatever? Can I ask the debaters, how many of you actually believe that it is a good idea?
You seem really
You
like
believe
it.
it? Yeah. I ask them because sometimes you have to sometimes you have to argue because of what you personally believe, and that can be quite challenging. So I always like to ask that question. As an adjudicator, I'm not permitted to take sides on it. I have to look at it in terms of technical argument and things like that. But it's really interesting. Yeah, sometimes it shows. It certainly didn't show tonight. Sometimes it shows when someone has to argue for something they clearly don't believe in. You can see it in their manner and their words. I really believe in this, when in fact they don't. But it was good that there was clearly two divided and well-argued sides. Another interesting point, which I don't think was dealt with in as good a way as I would have liked, and that is the aspect of human intervention. Initially, the affirmative excluded the possibility of human intervention, but you did pick it up later on and say, well, the driver is still going to be theoretically able to stop the car. Yeah, and that was the safety net that the negative relied on. So if things go wrong, such as crashing into someone, you'll be able to take over. So that was an interesting aspect, which I would have liked to have seen developed a little bit more, but not to worry, I didn't take any penalties for that. Okay, some individual comments. Tom, not Mrs. Chairman. Madam Chair. You did say Mrs. Chairman. That's a very, it's not a major point, but I don't think you should refer to the marital status. Chair. Okay, definition was really technical, really precise. Driverless car, it means no human intervention. Very comprehensive definition. You set it up really well for your team. And you said and the topic means it's not ideal in manner or degree. Sounds terribly legalistic. And it's not an ideal solution going forward. Going forward, wheels. You then signposted your team's 3 key points: loss of jobs leading to unemployment, safety threats, and the ethical legal issues associated with driverless cars. And you went on to develop those really well. Signposting was excellent. The one thing that I would suggest you do, you did try and do this, and you did this more as you went on, look at the audience a bit more. You had some really good points, but as an adjudicator, I want to see you. I want to see the personality behind the cards. And you did show some of that later on as you became more confident. It is a confidence issue, but overall you did really well. You said that the cost of driverless cars can be prohibitive, most can't afford them, there'll be a loss of jobs, and if technology fails, there'll be catastrophe. That was a really powerful point that you made. There will be consequences, and then you brought up hackers. That's a horrible word, hackers. Yeah, it frightens the living daylights out of people. I trust this computer to run my life, and if someone hacks into it, my life is radically and catastrophically changed. I thought it was a really powerful argument put for your team. You said it had negative, you summed up by saying negative impacts, that's no pun intended either, impact, huge risk, and that it's completely inadequate. We shouldn't even look at the idea of it. So really, really good. Well done. Ryan, you got up and said you mostly agree with the definition, which is fine. Then you said, but you put a really big important but into it. That is that you can switch to human control, right? Just like an autopilot can. I don't think I'd get on QF432 if there was no pilot in there. That was good. Your rebuttal was really good. You said it would create new jobs in areas for every job lost. Yeah, this was part of your positive, optimistic approach. Yeah, there'll be new ones to take up. Google is yet to be hacked. You left that hanging a little bit. I was reassured partly, but I don't trust Google anyway. I don't know if anyone trusts Google or Apple. But safe for now. Are we prepared to take the risk? You then develop your team line really strongly, that we already have the technology in the form of self-drive planes, autopilots. It will be a boom for families. The thought of mum taking the kids in the car without having to worry about looking over her shoulder to see if they're behaving themselves, it's quite attractive. It's quite an appealing argument. And it minimises and reduces human error in driving, and potentially makes driving safer, not more dangerous. I thought that was a really powerful point. But you did leave yourself open to, well, can you equate a plane's autopilot with the robotics of driving a car in heavy congested traffic. You did leave yourself open the other side, and they did pick you up on that eventually. But I did like the point that you would still have control. It would free parents up from being drivers of kids, and you would know that your children would be safe. Big assertion, huge assertion. I get what you're trying to say, and I really got it, and I thought it was a really brave point to make. But as a parent, would you trust a car to drive itself? And you did leave yourself open to that, but it was a really good point to support your side. I would have liked to see a little bit more evidence about, has it been shown? You did refer to, later on your second speaker, I think referred to UK evidence rather than US evidence. But overall, really good speech, systematic, logical, and a very, very good start for your team. Right, Zach, good rapport with the audience. I like your manner. Your rebuttal was very good. Focus on the you reminded us that the focus is on cars, not on buses or planes, and that running an autopilot plane is not the same as negotiating and navigating complex roads, and that it would actually potentially increase the margin for error because you're relying on technology which doesn't have the nuances and the particular characteristics of human beings interacting with each other. So, there's a great place for road rage which would disappear if you had computers running. So your points were very much based on logic and the unreliability of science and technology. You said that the sensors in driverless cars would rely on surroundings, they're not reliable in traffic and bad weather. I thought your interesting argument about it will stop till the weather improves on my road. Is that necessarily a bad thing? It would actually potentially could reduce traffic accidents. The cold hard truth is that the technology would actually slow the flow, and that might actually increase the frustration and anger for people. You then went on to talk about it would cause confusion and accidents because driverless cars can't communicate in the way that human beings can through gestures and bad signs and things like that. I thought it was an interesting argument. And then your third point was ethics, that there's the ongoing ethical arguments about, should we put our lives and trust into technology, knowing that the risks are so great, and you said that a computer or a robot can't make split-second decisions in complex environments, and therefore, why would we trust them ethically and morally and from a safety point of view? And you said to go to driverless cars would, quote, drive us crazy. Right, so well done. Molly. You're the one who got surgically stuck into the other side with good rebuttal by saying there's been extensive testing in the UK shown to be very reliable, contrary to the US evidence. I found you a very impressive speaker. You said that autopilots you have to be careful. Autopilots would in fact reduce human error because it would deal with issues such as distraction, drink driving, fatigue, cell phone distractions, etc. I thought that was a really powerful piece of argument. And it could actually reduce the number of deaths because it removes some of that human error rather than increase it, as the affirmative was suggesting. And then you develop your argument about efficiency, better use of roads, avoids congestion because these machines will be able to get into tight nooks and crannies which incompetent human drivers can't necessarily do. And you said overall that there are small risks, but we should not shut down technology simply because there are small risks. And I think that's the essence of the debate, actually. Are the risks small versus are they great? But I did like your presence. You have a really good rapport with the audience, so that was good. So well done. Lucy. You reiterated the point that we don't know how computer faults will occur and what effect they'll have, so you reminded us of, are you prepared to put your life at risk in this way? You were the first to make reference to the Tesla issue, that there has already been a death in relation to these types of vehicles, and that should put us on alert about the inherent dangers. And you raised an interesting point in your rebuttal that if there is a driver there to take over in the event of emergency, would the driver be as focused or as attentive as a normal driver would be without the autopilot, because they're trusting the technology? I thought that was a really interesting piece of rebuttal. So I wrote here that your rebuttal was excellent. You can never eliminate the possibility of human error, you said. You summed up your team line by referring again to the cost, the unemployment, the hackers, limited reliability, and the ethics. And it's too big a leap of faith. That's what you were essentially saying. And that was really good. Right, Evelyn. Again, and this was something that really showed up across all debaters, your rebuttal was very good. You referred again to lost jobs and said that they'll be replaced, look at hybrids, and that you took on the point about buses, that is the idea of extending the buses is only an idea. We're not talking about driverless buses alone, we're talking about the use of that technology across a broader scheme of things. And you said nothing is perfect, always room for improvement. Again, reinforcing that optimistic outlook that this may work, it may solve more problems than it actually creates. So you reiterated your team line in summation by saying it saves time, it's efficient, it will lead to less stress, less road rage, less laziness, and a happier, healthier life for everyone. So I felt warm and fuzzy after that. Overall, in the end, it was really, really hard, as it ought to be, as it ought to be. And in the end, it came down to one side having slightly, where's my sheet? One side having slightly, and it's ever so slightly, but discernible enough for an adjudicator, slightly more comprehensive, systematic and consistent argument and rebuttal, and slightly better evidence. And so by a margin of only 1 point, the affirmative wins. If it was another adjudicator who emphasised something slightly different, it could have gone the other way. And that really is a good reflection of how superb both teams are. The Speaker of the Night I've given to this person for excellent and logical presentation of arguments to support their team line. And I thought she did this particularly well, and that's Molly. Well done this year, and we hope to see you again next year. To Pulteney, may the stress be with you for next year. Thank you.
I call upon a member of the runner-up team to give a vote of thanks.
I thank everyone for coming to the debate tonight. I thank the opposition, you were a really good team to best, and good luck for your next debate. I thank the parents for bringing us here tonight, and of course the adjudicator for educating us and giving great feedback. Thank you.
I call upon a member of the winning team to second that vote of thanks.
We'd just like to thank all the parents for coming out and supporting both teams, not just ours. We'd especially like to thank our debating coach, for without her we would not have gotten this far at all, especially as well as Mr. Putland for helping us, even though you aren't our debating coach, and for being there throughout the entire season, even though you had your own team. For the adjudicator, thank you so much for the excellent feedback, and the other team, of course, for an excellent debate. We'd also like to thank the two teammates for coming out, even though you're not debating. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I now declare this debate closed.